Clipper, HUGO on channel 77, do you read?
HUGO on Clipper 77, loud and clear.
I'd like to confirm part of the mooring operation with you.
It's a win in terms of the UK and for the country, since we're actually getting a field developed that might otherwise not have been developed because of its smallness. It's a win in terms of creating a new contracting environment, which is going to provide facilities that will allow other fields to be brought on. And thirdly, it's a win also for ourselves that are getting to take forwards a field quickly and economically, which in yesterday's world would just have remained in the ground.
To make a decent return at current oil prices and in a province where there is this field size reduction, you have to be innovative and you have to be constructive. And if you look at the whole Fife area, Amerada have been very focused in terms of the development of fields in that area.
The Fife oil field in blocks 3126A and 27A and 39.1 and 2, due east of Edinburgh, is the most southerly field currently producing in the UK sector of the North Sea. Discovered in March 1991 in an area traditionally thought to have little potential for oil field developments, Amerada Hess and their partner Premier Oil were able to proceed rapidly with the development. The DTI's flexibility in the out-of-rounds licensing of the adjacent blocks into which the field extended and the close cooperation between all parties meant that less than 3 years after the license award, 50,000 barrels of oil a day was being produced from the field. Pretty good for a reservoir that was considered to have only a marginal chance of economic development under the traditional fixed platform approach.
Development of the Fife field has been made possible through the application of innovative technical and commercial solutions to the challenge that we've faced.
This innovation reflects the spirit of the industry's initiative, CRINE.
CRINE, cost reduction in the new era. The objective behind CRINE was to reduce the development costs for projects in the North Sea, to make the industry more competitive and to allow us to bring forward the development of more reserves.
The company has been involved in North Sea oil since 1963, and since becoming an operator in 1983, has always pursued an innovative approach. In 1986, when oil prices hit an all-time low, many development projects were not cost-effective. Amerada Hess converted a semi-submersible vessel into the oil and gas producing AH001, which made the Ivanhoe and Rob Roy fields economically viable. The success of these fields was due in part to the extensive use of subsea technology also used on the Scott platform. With the twin platform Scott development, Amerada Hess minimized the expensive offshore construction phase by commissioning all the platform modules onshore before having them assembled in the field. The time saved by this approach resulted in the first oil being achieved 4 months ahead of schedule, and plateau production of 180,000 barrels of oil per day was reached soon after. Floating production storage and offloading technology was used for the first time in the North Sea on Amerada Hess's Angus field, the smallest standalone field development in the North Sea, and subsequently on Hudson with the Petroyal 1. Fife again needed a different approach. There were no pipelines in the vicinity, so FPSO technology was the solution.
It stands for Floating Production Storage and Offloading System, and broadly speaking it covers a range of types of equipment which are able to process fluids from a field, store them on board. When it's approximately full, a shuttle tanker comes up to the rear of the vessel and hitches on. A hose is put across, the oil is emptied into the shuttle tanker, and off it sails to a variety of destinations.
The field was not large enough to make a vessel used on Fife alone an economically viable option. A different commercial arrangement was put in place. It involved the provision and operation by a contractor of the FPSO and the associated facilities. The length of time the FPSO will be required depends on how the field performs. Once the field has been fully depleted, the contractor can then lease the vessel to other companies for use on other fields and so fully recoup their investment. This was the first time that a converted tanker was used as an FPSO in the North Sea.
A vessel has been designed, converted, built and run by a contractor, and we have developed a very close relationship with that contractor.
That contractor was Bluewater. They converted a vessel that was both fit for purpose and that met the exacting safety standards required to operate on the UK continental shelf. They also installed the most up-to-date turret technology that was able to cope with the worst weather conditions experienced in the North Sea.
Bluewater is a company that used to do this type of work in other parts of the world, mainly China and Australia and the Far East, to provide vessels on a leased basis to clients. Now we decided to go for the North Sea environment, which is considered as the most complicated area to work in. You could say the top end of the market.
Bluewater decided upon the product carrier Deutsche Maersk as a suitable vessel for conversion. It made its last trip in October 1994, delivering aviation fuel from the Gulf to South Africa. 10 months later, it was producing oil on Fife. Preparatory conversion work, including that to permit the installation of the turret and mooring systems, as well as the installation of the helideck, flare boom and power modules, took place in Cadiz in southern Spain. After Cadiz, the vessel, now renamed the Uskigorm, Gaelic for Bluewater, sailed for McNulty's Quay on the Tyne, where its conversion to an FPSO was effected.
Before the vessel arrived at our quayside, we manufactured some large pieces of equipment, which were the process equipment for the vessel. Immediately after the vessel arrived at the end of March, we installed all of this equipment in a few days. We then spent the next 3 months hooking up and commissioning this equipment. When she sailed from us, she was a fully commissioned, tested piece of equipment ready to accept oil.
A significant part of the project took place in the United Kingdom. The turret was built at Lewis. The water injection pumps, for example, came from Weirs, as did the critical swivel. The process package was provided by Natco, fabricated in the Midlands and finally assembled at McNulty's. The water injection plant came from Cirque Baker in Gloucester.
As well as installation work done by McNulty's, the contractors, ABB Vetco Gray, supplied the subsea trees.
A Christmas tree is a unit that controls access and egress from a well on the seabed. It's called a Christmas tree because it looks vaguely like a Christmas tree with arms sticking out all over the place, and each of those arms is a valve, and you need quite a lot of valves to ensure that you can get safe access to the well.
ABB Vetco Gray were given the functional specifications for 4 production and 3 water injection trees, based on a design previously supplied for Scott and Hudson. This move towards standardization of trees was part of a North Sea initiative and part of the philosophy behind Crine. The drilling contract was given to Global Marine, who drilled all the wells under what is known as a turnkey contract.
A turnkey contract is one where a client asks a provider of a service or a good to provide that service for him simply as a finished product, so that the client has little involvement in the actual procurement.
In May and June, the seabed moorings and other subsea facilities on the field were installed. Then, on the 7th of July, the Uskigorm, now a fully converted state-of-the-art FPSO, set sail for Fife. After the hookup of the moorings and risers by Rockwater, it began production on the 16th of August 1995, ahead of schedule. Whilst on Fife, the Uskigorm is expected to recover at least 34 million barrels of oil and provide enough gas to power the vessel. The Uskigorm can store 620,000 barrels of oil in its tanks, and at peak production, a shuttle tanker offloads 500,000 barrels every 10 to 12 days.
If you look at any of Amerada's FPSO projects, there has been a very short lead time between discovery of the oil and first oil production. And clearly from a net present value perspective, that is absolutely critical, because if you discover oil in 1990 and you don't produce it till 2005, the net present value in 1990 is actually very low. Here was Fife, discovered in a period between 91 and 93, and on stream August 95.
With Fife, we've seen that the project has been executed at low-cost budget, it's been executed in record time, and we're seeing oil production today at rates in excess of our original expectation.
Once oil production on the Fife field and any satellite accumulations that may be identified is complete, the vessel will be used elsewhere.
The nice thing about FPSOs is that once the oil field is depleted, you can just change the location of the ship, maybe make some minor adjustments to mooring system or topsides, and deploy it again at another location.
These innovations that Amerada Hess and its partner Premier Oil have used, alongside the DTI's new approach to licensing and field development plans, have led to a cost-efficient method of producing oil from potentially uneconomic fields in the North Sea. Proof that the industry initiative Crine is a step in the right direction. Good for the partnership and good for the UK.